welcome to Six Gun Guitars. This is the electric bass series. Today we are going to take the fretboard that I've got, and this is, I actually pre-ordered this from StuMac. The price on it, you just really couldn't beat it. I don't have a ton of time right now, I'm kind of working on a budget, and just to even buy a piece of Indian rosewood about this big, even a 4/4 piece, for the same price, I'd be able to fillet it open and get two of them, if I really took the time on it, but this same piece right here, it already comes radiused and slotted, which is really nice and convenient, definitely saves a lot of time, but it comes with straight sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use a little jig with a router and a flush cut bit, so that way you can trim the sides to the right taper. What I'm going to be doing on this one is tapering from 1 5/8 at the nut to 2 3/8 at the 24th fret, and that's going to allow me a bridge spacing of 2 1/4. So bring it over to the workbench and we'll show you how to do that. Alright, so this is the quick and easy way of tapering your fingerboard. The way that I do this, it's going to give you an okay straight edge. It's not going to be the world's straightest edge. Normally for the acoustic guitars, I use the edge of a level. And levels, especially the ones from the hardware store, aren't necessarily 100% straight, but they're usually straight enough to get the taper on there, and then you can come back and you can refine it using like a card scraper or something else of that nature as you're doing your final finishing. But for what I'm going to do for this, because this is way too long for my level, is I found a nice piece of clear pine that's nice and straight grained, and it's really, really well jointed. It's actually all the faces on this are jointed, so I'm going to use this edge right here as the edge that my bearing on the router is going to ride against. So because of the issue of the fretboard being cambered over the top, you have to account for that in the sandwich here of these two boards, and I'll show you kind of how we're going to do that in a second. The first thing that I did was my top needs to be 1 5/8 inches wide. So I found the middle, and then I measured 1/2 inch plus 5/16 on each side and put a mark. So when you add them up, it adds up to 1 5/8. Hopefully I said that right. But anyway, find the pardon me. Find the center, and then I measured a 1/2 inch over because that'll give me my 1, and then I measured another 5/16. So it's 5/16 and 5/16 is going to be 5/8. So then I went down here to the bottom by 24, and this is supposed to be 2 3/8. So I marked my middle, and measured half the distance one way, put the mark, half the distance the other way, put the mark. Now it's important that the marks for what I'm doing are all the way on the edge, so that way you can see them and you're not guessing, if they're somewhere down here. You want them all the way up at the two far edges of the board. Because what you're going to do now is you're going to have your one big board that the bearing is going to ride against on the bottom. You're going to put this guy in there, and what you're going to do is you're going to line up the very first mark with the edge of the board and keep the mark just inside of the board. And then you're going to line up your second mark, and again keep the mark just inside of the board, because anything that is hanging over this surface here, the front face of this board, is going to be taken off by the router. So what I also did, because this is cambered and it's a 1/4 inch tall, I made a little 1/4 inch shim. And I'm going to set right back here, about equally spaced between it, so that way when I put the board on there, it's got something to clamp and it's got something to sandwich on. So what I do now is take my top board and put it on, and I put it on so it's just a little bit behind the bottom front surface of the board here. So I want it to be just a little bit back, so that way there's no obstruction to the router bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a bunch of bar clamps, or really good heavy clamps, because you really need to clamp this thing down well. And I'm going to clamp this entire thing down to the bench right around here and right around here, so that way I've got enough room for the router to pass from A to B, but I also have enough clamping pressure that this piece isn't going to slide on me here. And what I'll do is I'll come all the way across and take off that bit with the router. Now let me grab a few clamps and clamp this up, and we should be able to run the router across. Make sure that they're just inside of this bottom board, which is going to be my runner for the flush cut bit. And I clamp the living daylights out of them. I can't even press this in by hand. And this is the only last thing to show you, which is just regular router and a flush cutting bit. And I've got this set to a depth, so that way I can ride it right along the bottom of my board. And actually I'm going to bring it up just a hair. Bring it up just a hair, so that way my bit here doesn't overextend. And all we're going to do is put it on here like this, and just going to check to make sure that it's riding along okay. And actually, you know what, I'm going to bring it up just a hair more, so I've got a little extra clearance. Give it one more quick check. Alright, we look like we're good to go. I'm going to do a climb cut on this, so my bit is actually traveling in this direction and wants to pull me kind of in that direction. But I'm going to do a climb cut, and I'm going to take nice little bits off of this at a time, instead of doing it all in one whack, which is how you split the board. And let's see what it looks like when it's done. So now we're all the way across. I'm going to give it a check, make sure it didn't miss anything, make sure it looks nice. Go ahead and pop these clamps. And that looks nice. We've got the first edge of the board completely profiled. And as I look down at here, yeah, it looks nice and straight. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, put it back in the jig, and we'll do the other side. Flip around, and again, I'm just going to make sure that my lines are inside here. And that does look good. And come along with the router and do another climb cut nice and easy, and we'll profile the other side. Safety glasses on, and here we are. Alright, and it's a little bit hard to see, but there's a little bit of a nib sticking out here, so I'm going to carefully break this clamp, back it out just a little bit, because I just clamped it a little too close. Now we're going to finish it. Alright, let's take the clamps off. Ah, there we go. That looks really nice. And that is a 1 5/8 inch taper at the nut to a 2 3/8 at the bottom. You know, that might be a little bit difficult to see, but it was quick and it was easy. And again, you can do that with just a couple of nice straight boards, or you can do it with a level. A nice straight level will work. You might even be able to find a nice big long level and check it with a really good straight edge. You'll see, you know, because you'll find some that are a little bit straighter than others. And once you have something like that, you know, you've got a nice true flat surface, and you can use that with, you know, a flush cutting router bit. And what that'll allow you to do is cut nice straight ends on stuff. Like I said, the only reason I did it on a piece of wood this time around is just because I needed something quick and fast to do something this long. Because normal guitar necks, you know, the fretboards really aren't this long. So alright, next thing that we're going to go on to is putting on the fret dots, and that should be in the next video for you.